You're working yourself to the bone. Love is dangerous, and you should never trust a woman completely. I believe in Akuma and our future together. I'm willing to take the risk. In the small town of Akim Odagana, the lives of two young people, Sachi and Akuma, were intertwined by love, dreams, and ultimately, tragedy. This is a real story that speaks volumes about the complexities of human relationships, the consequences of our actions, and the power of forgiveness. Akuma loved school and always got good grades. But Akuma had a problem. Her mother was a single parent and couldn't afford her school fees. Back then, there was no free secondary school. One day, when Akuma was close to finishing secondary school, she was sent home because she couldn't pay for her mock exams. With tears in her eyes and a heavy heart, she walked to the road and got into a taxi. The taxi driver, a young man named Sachi, who was just 25 years old, noticed Akuma was crying. "Why are you crying, little one?" he asked gently. Through her tears, Akuma explained, "I can't finish school because my mother can't pay for my exams. I tried so hard, but now it seems like my dreams are over." Sachi felt his heart break a little. He could see how much school meant to Akuma. "Don't cry, Akuma," he said softly. "Tell me more about your dreams." Akuma looked up, surprised that someone cared. "I want to become a nurse," she whispered. "I want to help people and make my mother proud." Sachi nodded, deep in thought. He knew he had to do something. "Akuma, you won't believe this, but I have a sister your age. She's also very smart. What if I helped you pay for your exams? You can still finish school and chase your dreams." Akuma's eyes widened in disbelief and hope. "Really? You would do that for me?" Sachi smiled warmly. "Yes, I would. Everyone deserves a chance to follow their dreams." Sachi, the young taxi driver, took Akuma to the bank. He withdrew money and gave it to her so she could pay for her school and exam fees. Though Sachi didn't own the taxi and was working for someone else, saving money to buy his own car one day, he knew Akuma needed the help more. When Akuma got home, she excitedly told her mother about Sachi. Her mother's eyes filled with gratitude. "Bring him here, Akuma. I want to thank him." The next day, Akuma asked Sachi, "Would you come to my house? My mother wants to thank you." Sachi felt a bit nervous but agreed. When they arrived, Akuma's mother welcomed him warmly. "Thank you so much for helping my daughter," she said, tears in her eyes. "You have given her hope again." Sachi smiled shyly. "I'm just glad I could help." As time passed, Sachi and Akuma became close friends. They often talked about their dreams. Sachi wanted to own a taxi, and Akuma wanted to become a nurse. When Sachi visited the house, he was taken aback by the poverty he saw. The small, run-down house had cracks in the walls, and the roof looked like it might collapse at any moment. There was hardly any furniture, just a few worn-out chairs and a table. Akuma's mother, Asabea, greeted him with a tired but warm smile, her eyes showing both gratitude and exhaustion. Sachi saw how hard life was for them. He could see the struggle in every corner of their home. Asabea worked tirelessly, but it was never enough. Akuma tried to help, but with school and exams, it was overwhelming. Seeing this, Sachi couldn't just walk away. He felt a deep urge to help them. Every week, he would visit their home. With a kind heart and gentle words, he would hand Asabea some money. "Here, Asabea," Sachi would say, placing the money in her hands. "Use this for whatever you need." Asabea's eyes would fill with tears. "Thank you, Sachi. You have no idea how much this means to us." Sachi also gave money to Akuma to help with her school expenses. "Akuma, this is for your school supplies and fees," he said, smiling warmly. Akuma looked up at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Sachi. I promise I will work hard and make you proud." Week after week, Sachi's visits brought a ray of hope into their lives. He didn't just give them money, he gave them a sense of security and the belief that things could get better. Sachi's support didn't stop there. He would sit with Akuma and help her study for her exams. He encouraged her when she felt down and celebrated her small victories with her. "You're doing great, Akuma. Keep going," he would say, his words filled with encouragement and warmth. Asabiya watched this bond grow with a heart full of gratitude. "Sachi, you are like a guardian angel to us," she said one day. "We are forever grateful." Sachi simply smiled, knowing that helping them was the right thing to do. His weekly visits became the highlight of their lives. He supported Akuma until she completed secondary school, ensuring she had everything she needed to succeed. Through Sachi's kindness, Akuma found the strength to keep going. She knew she wasn't alone, and that made all the difference. Asabiya's rent expired, and the landlord gave her a month to pay, but she couldn't come up with the money. Each day, the worry lines on Asabiya's face deepened, and the weight of their financial troubles pressed heavily on her shoulders. One evening, as Akuma sat beside her mother, she could see how distressed she was. "Mama, what's wrong?" she asked softly. With a sigh, Asabi explained, "The landlord has given us a month to pay the rent, but I don't have the money. I don't know what we'll do if we can't pay." Akuma felt a pang of fear, but also determination. She knew she had to do something. The next day she found Sachi and explained their situation. "Sachi," Akuma began, her voice trembling, "we're going to lose our home. My mother can't pay the rent, and we have only a month left." Sachi listened intently, his heart aching for them. He thought about the money he had been saving to buy his own car. It was a dream he had worked hard for, but he knew Akuma and her mother needed it more. Without hesitation, Sachi went to the bank and withdrew a significant portion of his savings. As he handed the money to Asabiya, he said, "This is for your rent. Please, don't worry anymore." Asabiya was overwhelmed with gratitude, and tears streamed down her face. "Sachi, how can we ever thank you enough?" she asked, her voice choked with emotion. Sachi smiled gently. "You don't need to thank me. Knowing that you and Akuma are safe is enough for me." Akuma hugged Sachi tightly. "Thank you, Sachi. You've done so much for us. We are forever grateful." Sachi's sacrifice was a significant one. He had given up his dream of owning a car to ensure that Asabiya and Akuma had a roof over their heads. This act of kindness further deepened the bond between them. As Akuma completed school, her results finally came in, and she had passed her exams with flying colors. Her dream of becoming a nurse was almost within reach, but a new challenge arose. How could she afford the nursing school fees? Her mother, Asabiya, had no means to support her, and their only hope was Sachi. One evening, Akuma sat down with Sachi and explained her predicament. "Sachi, I've passed my exams, but I don't know how I'll afford nursing school. My mother and I have no way to pay the fees." Sachi listened carefully, and after a moment, he made a heartfelt promise. "Akuma, I will help you with your nursing school fees, but I have one condition." Akuma looked at him, her heart pounding. "What is it, Sachi?" Sachi took a deep breath and said, "I want to marry you once you complete your nursing school." Akuma was stunned, but deeply touched. She had always admired Sachi for his kindness and support, and now he was expressing his love for her in the sweetest way. She couldn't wait to tell her mother. When Akuma shared the news with her mother, Asabiya smiled warmly. "My dear, I always knew Sachi was the right man for you. I never wanted anyone else to be your husband. I'm so happy for you." Akuma hugged her mother tightly. "Thank you, Mama. Sachi's proposal is like a dream come true." Overwhelmed with emotion, Akuma ran to Sachi. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she threw her arms around him. "Thank you, Sachi," she cried. "I can't believe this is happening. I will marry you." Sachi held her close, his heart full of love and happiness. "I promise to always support you and make you happy, Akuma. We will build a beautiful life together." Sachi shared the story with his friend Seth. Seth laughed at him, thinking Sachi was foolish for using his savings to support Akuma's nursing school fees. "You're being so stupid," Seth said, shaking his head. "What if Akuma refuses to marry you after completing her nursing training? Financing a girl's education is risky. You should stop before it's too late." Sachi, deeply in love, looked at Seth with determination. "Nothing can separate our love and bond," he replied firmly. "Akuma and I have something special. I trust her completely." The next day, Sachi went to the bank and withdrew his last savings. As he was leaving, he bumped into Seth again. "Sachi, are you really going to do this?" Seth asked, still skeptical. "Think about it. This could be a huge mistake." Sachi paused for a moment, considering Seth's words. But then he thought about Akuma and the future they had dreamed of together. He knew he couldn't let doubt get in the way of their love. "I've made my decision, Seth," Sachi said calmly. "I believe in Akuma and our future together. I'm willing to take the risk because I know it's worth it." Seth sighed, realizing he couldn't change Sachi's mind. "I hope you're right, Sachi. Just be careful." Sachi nodded and went on his way. That evening he handed the money to Akuma. "Here, Akuma," he said, his voice full of warmth. "This is for your nursing school fees. I believe in you, and I believe in us." Akuma's eyes filled with tears of gratitude and love. "Thank you, Sachi. I promise I won't let you down. I love you." Sachi smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. "I love you too, Akuma. We'll get through this together." Despite Seth's warnings, Sachi's faith in Akuma never wavered. He continued to support her, knowing that their love was strong enough to overcome any obstacle, and as Akuma worked hard in nursing school, their bond grew even stronger, proving that true love is always worth the risk. Sachi had to work day and night as a taxi driver to support Akuma and her mother. His dedication was unwavering, but it came at a great personal cost. He couldn't afford new clothes for himself and sometimes didn't even eat well. His appearance began to change, looking more worn and tired as the days went by, all because he was working so hard to support Akuma. One day, Seth confronted him, noticing the drastic change in his friend's appearance. "Sachi, look at yourself," Seth said, concerned. "You're working yourself to the bone. Love is dangerous, and you should never trust a woman completely. Be very careful." Sachi listened to Seth's words, but instead of feeling comforted, he felt a pang of realization. Seth's constant negativity and distrust towards his relationship with Akuma started to weigh on him. He began to see that Seth's words were causing him more harm than good, and perhaps Seth was even jealous of the deep bond he shared with Akuma. "Seth, I appreciate your concern, but I think you're wrong about Akuma," Sachi said firmly. "She's never given me a reason to doubt her. I trust her with all my heart." Seth shook his head. "I'm just trying to protect you, Sachi. Love can blind you." But Sachi knew better. He realized that Seth's constant warnings and negativity were not helping. They were sowing seeds of doubt where there was none. Deciding that his friend's advice was more harmful than helpful, Sachi made a tough decision. "I think it's best if we take a break from seeing each other, Seth," Sachi said gently. "I need to focus on my own path, and right now, that path includes supporting Akuma." Seth looked surprised, but didn't argue. "If that's what you want, Sachi." From that day on, Sachi stopped visiting or sharing ideas with Seth. He poured all his energy into his work and his support for Akumaya. Despite the hardships, his love for her never wavered. Akuma, noticing the toll it was taking on Sachi, tried to help as much as she could. "Sachi, you're doing so much for us. Please, take care of yourself too." Sachi smiled, his heart warmed by her concern. "I will, Akuma. We'll get through this together." Their love grew stronger each day, proving that true love and commitment could withstand any challenge. Sachi's sacrifices were not in vain, and as Akuma moved closer to achieving her dreams, she knew she had Sachi to thank for standing by her side through it all. Akuma finally completed her nursing training and was posted to a government hospital. Her dream had been fulfilled, and she was overjoyed. One evening, Sachi spoke to her about their future. "Akuma," he said softly, "now that you've achieved your dream, I think it's time we talked about our marriage." Akuma smiled brightly and replied, "Yes, Sachi. Let's start preparing for it." Sachi and his family went to visit Akuma's family to formally ask for her hand in marriage. They were warmly welcomed, and Akuma's family gladly agreed. They provided Sachi with a list of items needed for the traditional marriage ceremony. Sachi didn't have much money, but he was determined to meet all the requirements. He started buying the items bit by bit. Sometimes he would buy 2 pieces of cloth, sometimes a bag, and other times he would purchase small household items. He was doing his best to gather everything on the marriage list, working tirelessly to ensure he could fulfill every request. One day, Akuma noticed Sachi coming home exhausted after a long day of driving. She gently took his hand and said, "Sachi, you don't have to do everything at once. We can take our time." Sachi smiled at her, his eyes filled with love. "I want everything to be perfect for you, Akuma. You deserve the best." As the days went by, Sachi continued to work hard, saving every penny he could. One day, Akuma received an invitation to her friend's wedding. When she arrived, she was amazed by how beautiful everything was. The groom and his rich friends had parked their luxurious cars outside, and the entire event was like a fairy tale. Akuma was part of the bridesmaids, and she looked stunning, but her heart was filled with jealousy. "Why can't I have a wedding like this?" she thought to herself. "Sachi can't afford something so expensive. He's been buying the items for our engagement bit by bit. What will happen if I invite my friends to our engagement or traditional marriage? They'll laugh at me." As these thoughts swirled in her mind, Akuma felt a pang of sadness. She loved Sachi dearly, but the grandeur of her friend's wedding made her doubt. That evening, as the celebration continued, one of the groom's friends approached her. "Hello," he said with a charming smile. "You look beautiful tonight. My name is Michael." "Thank you," Akuma replied politely. Michael handed her a business card. "If you ever want to talk or need anything, give me a call." Akuma took the card, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. She knew she should be happy for her friend, but the comparison was hard to shake off. She pocketed the card and tried to enjoy the rest of the evening, though her thoughts kept drifting back to her own upcoming engagement. When she returned home, she sat down and thought about Sachi. She remembered all the sacrifices he had made for her, the hard work and love he had shown. Despite the simplicity of their life, His love was genuine and unwavering. The next day, Sachi noticed Akuma seemed a bit distant. "Is everything all right, Akuma?" he asked gently. She hesitated for a moment, then decided to share her feelings. "Sachi, I went to my friend's wedding yesterday. It was so luxurious, and everyone there was so wealthy. I couldn't help but feel a bit jealous and worried about what my friends will think of our engagement." Sachi took her hand and looked into her eyes. "Akuma, I may not have much, but I promise to give you all the love and support I have. Our journey may be different, but it's our own special story. I believe in us, and I hope you do too." As we await the next episode, the big question lingers. Will Akuma remain loyal to Sachi, or will Michael's luxurious and rich appearance make Akuma change her mind and forget all the kindness Sachi showed her? Have you encountered a similar situation like this in your life? Please subscribe to Anansi Web of Tales and share where you are enjoying these stories from. Stay tuned, as the final episode is coming soon.